My ex-girlfriend is claiming I'm the father of her baby. It's medically impossible. So I got a text message 3 hours ago that should be impossible, but here we are. Some background first. I dated Tessa for about 8 months. We broke up 6 weeks ago. It wasn't dramatic or anything, we just wanted different things. She wanted to move back to her hometown. I'm building my career here. We ended things pretty amicably. Haven't really talked since. Tonight my phone buzzed around 11 p.m. It was Tessa. The message was long, but essentially, she was pregnant, 9 weeks along, and she was 100% certain it was mine. She didn't ask if I want to be involved. She didn't suggest we talk about options. No, she jumped straight to, I'm pregnant with your child, so you need to commit to financial support until they're 18. And apparently we needed to set up a payment plan immediately. The whole message had this weird, formal tone, like she was reading from a script. Then comes the threat. If you don't cooperate and try to deny responsibility, I'll have no choice but to share the full story publicly. People deserve to know what kind of man you are. I was reading this and my first reaction was just confusion, like we use protection every single time. I'm paranoid about that stuff. But more importantly, and here's the thing I haven't told anyone, it's literally impossible for me to be the father. When I was 24, I had a severe testicular injury from a car accident. I'll spare you the details, but it was bad. Bad enough that I spent 2 weeks in the hospital and had multiple surgeries. The end result, complete sterility, not low sperm count, not reduced fertility. 0. I've had this confirmed by 3 different specialists over the years. The answer is all the same. It's not happening naturally, ever. I never told Tessa because, honestly, it never came up in a way that felt necessary. We weren't together that long, we weren't talking marriage or kids, and it's not exactly something I lead with on dates. Hi, I'm Adrian. I like hiking and craft beer, and oh, by the way, I'm shooting blanks. It's personal, it's sometimes painful, and I only share it when it feels right. So I'm sitting here, staring at this message, knowing with absolute certainty that this baby, if it even exists, isn't mine. And I'm trying to figure out what her angle is. Is she pregnant by someone else and panicking? Did that someone else bail, and she thinks I'm a safer bet because I have a stable job and no kids to support already? The thing that really bothers me is the threat. Why go there immediately? Why not have a conversation? Why not even pretend this is about wanting me to be a father rather than just wanting my money? It feels so transactional, so cold. Part of me wants to just text back, I can't be the father, and block her. But I know that's not going to end it. If she's desperate or delusional enough to try this, a simple denial won't stop anything. And if she's actually pregnant, that's a whole human being who's going to be dragged into whatever mess this becomes. My buddy Theo is a family law attorney. I'm thinking about calling him tomorrow and asking what my options are. But even that feels like I'm taking this more seriously than it deserves. Like, should I really need a lawyer because my ex sent me a crazy text? I haven't responded to Tessa yet. I keep typing out messages and deleting them. Everything I want to say feels either too emotional or too cold. I'm angry, but I'm also just sad. Like, I thought I knew Tessa, we had good times together. I didn't think she was the kind of person who would try something like this. Anyone dealt with something like this? How do I even respond? Update 1. Posted 4 days later. Holy shit, guys. I wasn't expecting to update this soon, but things have moved fast and I need to write this all out before I lose my mind. So I eventually called Theo the morning after I posted. Met him for coffee, showed him the messages, explained the whole situation including the medical history. He listened, took notes, and then said, Adrian, she's not expecting you to have receipts. That's her entire strategy. Theo suggested a direct approach. Invite Tessa to a conversation face-to-face with the medical documentation present. No threats, no drama, just facts. He offered to be there as a witness, but I decided against it. I wanted to give Tessa a chance to back down quietly before this became a legal thing, so I texted her back. Very simple. We need to talk in person. Tomorrow evening, the coffee shop on Maple Street. I'll explain everything then. She responded within minutes. I'm not negotiating support payments in a coffee shop, Adrian. Not negotiating anything, just talking. See you at 7. She did come, but not alone. She showed up with her sister Nina. I was already there, sitting at a corner table far from other customers. I had a folder with me. Medical records, 3 different letters from 3 different specialists, all on official letterhead, all confirming the same thing. Tessa looked nervous. Nina looked combative, like she was gearing up for a fight. I stayed calm. "Thanks for coming," I said. "I'm going to make this very simple. Tessa, you told me you're pregnant and that I'm the father, but that's not possible." Nina jumped in immediately. "You don't get to decide that." "I'm not deciding anything," I interrupted. "Biology is deciding. When I was 24, I had a severe testicular injury that resulted in complete permanent sterility." I slid the folder across the table. Tessa's face went white. "I've had this confirmed by multiple specialists. This is the documentation. It's not a low probability. It's not might be difficult. It's impossible." The silence was so heavy I could hear the espresso machine on the other side of the cafe. Tessa opened the folder with shaking hands. I watched her eyes scan the first letter, then the second, then the third. Nina was reading over her shoulder, and I saw the moment it clicked for both of them. "So whoever the father is," I continued, "it's not me. And I think you knew that, Tessa, or at least you knew it might not be me." That's when Tessa started crying. Not delicate tears, full breakdown crying. Nina immediately went into protective mode, rubbing her sister's back and glaring at me like I was the villain here. Through the crying, Tessa started talking. And oh man, did she talk. Turns out she is actually pregnant. But it was never about me being the father. It was about me being the most financially stable guy in her recent past. She admitted that she'd been with a few other people in the 2 months before we broke up and after. "A few?" I asked. "3, she whispered. Maybe 4 if you count." Jesus Christ, Tessa. Nina's protective stance shifted slightly. Even she looked uncomfortable. "And you don't know which one is the actual father?" I pressed. They weren't like you. They weren't stable. One of them is married. Another one doesn't have a real job. I thought if I told you it was yours, you'd step up because that's who you are." I sat back, trying to process this. "So your plan was to extort me into paying for a child that isn't mine because the actual father is inconvenient." "I wouldn't call it extortion," Nina started. "What would you call it then?" I asked. She threatened to publicly accuse me if I didn't immediately commit to 18 years of financial support for a child that isn't even mine. What is that if not extortion? Nina didn't have an answer for that. Tessa was still crying, but now it had this quality of panic to it. "I didn't know what else to do. My mom said you were the best option. She said you'd pay rather than let your reputation get ruined." "Your mom?" I felt my blood pressure spike. "Elaine knew about this plan. She's the one who helped me write the message," Tessa admitted. "I didn't want to threaten you, but she said it was necessary to make sure you took it seriously." I was speechless for a moment. Then I looked at both sisters. "Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to leave now. You're going to figure out who the actual father is and deal with that situation yourself. And this conversation stays between us. I won't tell anyone what you tried to do as long as you never contact me again about this or anything else." Nina opened her mouth, probably to argue, but I held up my hand. "I'm being generous here. What you did is fraud. It's defamation. It could probably be argued as extortion. I'm giving you a chance to walk away from this without legal consequences, but only if you walk away now." I stood up, gathered my documents, and left. I was shaking so hard I had to sit in my car for 10 minutes before I felt safe to drive. Called Theo on the way home, told him everything. He congratulated me on staying calm and getting an admission on record, then warned me that Elaine's involvement made this more complicated. "If her mom was directing this," he said, "she's not going to let it go just because Tessa got caught. Watch your back." Well, it does make sense, but I really hope he's just being paranoid. Edit. Yes, I recorded the audio on my phone. It's legal in my state, one-party consent. Theo told me to do it before I went to the meeting. I have the whole conversation documented. A lot of people are asking why Tessa would admit to everything so easily. Honestly, I think she panicked. She came in expecting me to either cave immediately or deny it weakly. She wasn't prepared for medical documentation. Once that foundation crumbled, she just collapsed. Update 2. Posted 1 week later. I should have trusted Theo when he told me it wouldn't end there. 3 days after the coffee shop meeting, I got a call from my sister. She'd seen something on Facebook that she thought I should know about. My stomach dropped before she even finished the sentence. Tessa had posted a long, emotional statement on her public Facebook page. I'm not going to reproduce the whole thing, but the gist was, she's a pregnant single mother who's been abandoned by her child's father. She painted me as someone who pursued a relationship with her, promised commitment, and then refused to take responsibility when confronted with the consequences of our actions. The post had photos of her holding a positive pregnancy test. It had comments from her friends calling me every name you can imagine. It had been shared 73 times. She never used my full name, but she used enough identifying details that anyone who knew both of us would immediately know who she was talking about. But the worst part, there was a GoFundMe link. Help Tessa prepare for single motherhood. The goal was $15,000. The description talked about how she was facing this journey alone after being abandoned by the father and needed help with medical expenses, baby supplies, and living costs while she couldn't work full-time. It had already raised $2,300. I called Theo immediately. She's doing exactly what she threatened to do. I see it, he said. He'd already found the post through mutual connections. This is defamation, clear cut. And if she's raising money based on false claims about you, that's fraud. So what do? We document everything, screenshots, saved pages, archived links, and we send her a cease and desist letter. If she doesn't take it down, we file suit. I wanted to respond publicly to defend myself, to show everyone the medical records and explain that this was all bullshit. Theo talked me down. The internet doesn't care about truth, he said. People see pregnant woman and deadbeat dad and their brains shut off. You post your medical records, you'll get accused of faking them or a dozen other things. Let the legal system handle this. So I stayed quiet, and it was torture. The comments on Tessa's post got worse. Someone found my Instagram. They started leaving comments there. Deadbeat. Coward. Real men take care of their children. One person even sent me a direct message calling me a worthless piece of shit who should be castrated. The irony of that last one wasn't lost on me. My employer got an anonymous email. Someone, I'm guessing one of Tessa's friends, sent a message to our general HR inbox claiming that I had impregnated and abandoned someone, and questioning whether the company wanted someone with such questionable character representing them. My boss called me into his office. Thankfully, he's a reasonable guy. He asked me directly if there was anything he needed to know about my personal life that might affect my work. I explained the situation, medical history included, and offered to provide documentation if needed. He looked relieved. I believe you, he said, but you should know that HR is taking this seriously. If this continues to escalate, they may require you to prove it's false to protect the company. I understand, I said. My lawyer is handling it. Then Elaine got involved. Tessa's mom started commenting on the Facebook post, adding fuel to the fire. She posted about how I had manipulated and used her daughter before cruelly abandoning her in her most vulnerable moment. She claimed that I had threatened legal action to silence Tessa when she tried to discuss the pregnancy. Elaine also posted in several local community Facebook groups, asking for recommendations for affordable family law attorneys who can help a young single mother secure child support from an unwilling father. Meanwhile, Theo drafted the cease and desist letter. It was professional but firm. Remove all posts referencing me, shut down the GoFundMe, and cease making any public statements about me or the paternity situation. It cited defamation, fraud, and extortion. It mentioned the recording of Tessa's admission. It gave her 7 days to comply or face legal action. We had it delivered via both email and certified mail. Tessa's response came 4 days later. Through her own lawyer, apparently Elaine found her someone willing to take this on contingency. The letter was wild. Her lawyer claimed that I had no right to demand silence from a pregnant woman sharing her story, and that the medical documentation I'd provided was potentially fabricated and would need to be independently verified by court-appointed specialists. They also claimed that my recording of our coffee shop conversation was illegal, it's not in our state, and that I had coerced Tessa into making false statements by intimidating her with threats of legal action. The letter demanded that I agree to submit to a paternity test and commit to immediately begin support payments upon positive results. Theo laughed when he read it. This attorney is either incompetent or desperate, maybe both. They're not engaging with the actual facts and they're making claims they can't support. This is going to go badly for them. So we file suit, I asked. We file suit, he confirmed. Defamation and fraud to start. If she doesn't take down the posts and the GoFundMe, we add more counts. But Adrian, you need to be prepared for this to get uglier before it gets better. Once we file, she's going to claim she's being attacked by a wealthy man trying to avoid responsibility. The narrative will shift to victimhood. He was right. Again. The day after Tessa received notice that we were filing suit, she posted an update on Facebook. She was devastated that I was using my money and privilege to try to silence her. She claimed I was weaponizing the legal system to abuse a vulnerable pregnant woman. She linked to articles about how family courts favor fathers who can afford expensive attorneys. The GoFundMe goal increased to $25,000, now including legal defense fund. More people donated. I want to be clear. I'm not rich. I have a decent job in tech. I make good money, but I'm not wealthy. Theo is helping me at a significantly reduced rate because we're friends, but I'm still looking at thousands of dollars in legal fees. But in the court of public opinion, I'm the villain. I'm the man with resources attacking a pregnant woman. It doesn't matter that she's lying. It doesn't matter that I have proof she tried to extort me. All that matters is the optics, pregnant woman versus financially stable man. My mental health is taking a hit. I'm not sleeping well. I'm constantly checking my phone for new developments, new accusations, new attacks. My friends have been supportive, but even they're getting tired of hearing about it. My parents want me to just make this go away, even though I've explained multiple times that I can't make it go away by paying someone for a child that isn't mine. Theo keeps telling me to trust the process. The legal system is slow, but it works. I'm trying to believe him. But right now, sitting here watching strangers on the internet call me every horrible thing you can imagine while donating money to help the woman who's actively lying about me. It's hard. The preliminary hearing is in 3 weeks. I just have to survive until then. Final update. Posted 5 weeks later. It's been 5 weeks since my last update. I'm not going to lie, this has been one of the hardest periods of my life. But we're through it now, and I have a lot to share. The preliminary hearing happened 3 weeks ago. Theo presented everything. The medical documentation from 3 different specialists, the recorded conversation where Tessa admitted she didn't know who the father was and had been with multiple men, screenshots of her threatening messages, and documentation of the fraudulent GoFundMe campaign. The judge was not impressed with Tessa's side. Her attorney tried to argue that the medical records should be independently verified and that we needed to wait for the baby to be born for a paternity test. The judge shut that down immediately. "Counsel," she said, "your client has already admitted on recording that she was with multiple partners and doesn't know which is the father. Your client's own words contradict her public statements. And you're asking this court to order a paternity test on someone who has provided extensive medical documentation of sterility from multiple accredited specialists. On what basis?" Her attorney tried to pivot to the legal intimidation angle, claiming I was using the legal system to silence a pregnant woman. The judge didn't buy it. Your client made specific, public accusations against the plaintiff. She solicited donations based on those accusations. The plaintiff has every right to defend himself, and from what I'm seeing, his claims of defamation and fraud are well-founded. She ordered Tessa to immediately remove all social media posts referencing me, shut down the GoFundMe, and cease making any public statements about me or the alleged paternity. She also ordered a restitution hearing for the GoFundMe money. Since it was raised under false pretenses, there's a question of whether Tessa needs to return it. Tessa's attorney looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. Theo later told me he suspects Elaine hired the cheapest lawyer she could find and fed him a completely false version of events. The Facebook post came down within hours of the hearing. The GoFundMe was shut down the same day. She'd raised $5,400 total. People who donated started asking questions about why it was suddenly gone, and some of Tessa's friends who'd been the most vocal about what a deadbeat I was went radio silent. A few people who'd been following the drama started connecting the dots. One of Tessa's former friends, someone who donated and shared the post, actually reached out to me with an apology. She said Tessa had been suspiciously vague about details when pressed, and now she understood why. But here's where things got really interesting. Elaine lost her mind. 2 days after the hearing, she went on her own Facebook rampage. She posted a long screed about how the legal system is rigged against women, how men can buy their way out of responsibility, and how her daughter was being persecuted for speaking her truth. She claimed I had fabricated medical records and bribed doctors to lie. She also made a specific threat. Men like Adrian think they can silence women with lawsuits, but the truth always comes out. He'll regret trying to destroy my daughter. Theo immediately added Elaine to the defamation suit. We also filed for a restraining order based on that threat. The hearing for that is next week, but her posts came down pretty quickly once she got served. The stress of all this caught up with Tessa. According to Nina, who eventually reached out to apologize on her sister's behalf, Tessa had a breakdown and admitted everything to a larger circle of friends and family. She's apparently broken up with her current boyfriend, one of the possible fathers, and is now trying to get DNA tests done before the baby arrives. Nina's apology was genuine, I think. She said she'd believed Tessa initially because why would she lie about something so serious? But after the meetup at the cafe and how everything went down after that, she realized she'd been helping her sister commit fraud. The restitution hearing is in 2 weeks. Theo thinks we have a strong case for Tessa to return the $5,400 plus pay my legal fees. Whether she actually has the money to do that is another question, but at least it'll be on record. As for the broader fallout, my employer officially cleared me after reviewing the case documentation. My Instagram comments have calmed down. A few people who'd been hostile have quietly deleted their comments. Nobody has publicly apologized except Nina, but the absence of continued attacks is its own kind of resolution. My mental health is improving. I've started seeing a therapist to process all of this, not just the Tessa situation, but also some older stuff about the injury and infertility that got stirred up. Turns out carrying around that kind of secret for 9 years and then having it weaponized against you is pretty traumatic. Who knew? Theo refused to let me pay him the full rate for his work, which I'm both grateful for and uncomfortable about. I've told him I owe him for life. The baby is due in about 3 months. I genuinely hope whoever the actual father is steps up and that the kid has a good life. This isn't the baby's fault. None of this is. As for me, I'm moving forward. Maybe I'll tell future partners about the sterility earlier in relationships. Maybe I won't. But I'm not letting fear of situations like this control my life. This is probably my last update unless something dramatic happens. Thanks to everyone who offered support and advice throughout this. Time to close this chapter and move on with my life.